everyone, how's it going? I hope you guys are doing really well. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be building a container home with a separate bathroom. So it's going to be a small container home which has like the bedroom, living room and kitchen, and then there's going to be another sort of separate little container which houses the bathroom, so like toilet, shower with an outside bath, and it also has the washing machine and tumble dryer in it. So as always, if you enjoy this video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you have not already, check out some of the other videos that I have done after this one. I love creating custom builds and doing renovations of different homes, in House Zipper, and checking out some cozy games from time to time. So hopefully there's some other stuff you enjoy. Leave a comment as well, let me know what you think of this build, if you have a favorite part, anything like that. I really do appreciate any and all support you guys can leave on the videos. So starting off with this build, I love a container home. I absolutely love a container home, and they're one of my favorites to build. I swear, there's a lot of builds that I'm like, oh, this is like one of my favorites, but container homes are definitely up there with one of the ones that I do enjoy making, just because a few years ago, I think, like, you know, when all the container home stuff was quite big, I used to absolutely love watching like container home videos and like house tour videos of container homes that people have made and stuff like that. So I just really like container homes, and I still to this day I wouldn't mind having one. So I always get excited when I decide to do a container home build. So yeah, and that is what this is. So as I mentioned, the main house is like one container, and the inside sort of like working space for that container is 38 by 14. So it's 38 long and then 14 in width. That's the inside area, and then the exterior side of like the main container is 40 by 16. So just a little like a reference there if you wanted to try and duplicate it or anything like that. But yeah, so the main section has a bedroom, a kitchen and a living room, and then I built another little container off to the side which was purely gonna be like bathroom only, and that's what that ends up being. And that one, the inside space is 16 by 12 and the exterior space is 18 by 14. So it's quite small. They're both pretty small, and I think they both work out pretty well for the sizes of what they are. The bathroom is actually pretty big, and then like I said, the bathroom has like there's a shower and a toilet in there, but then there's actually a separate bath on the outside. So I was kind of thinking that this could sort of be like a little plot of land that somebody's got, and they're kind of like trying to be as self-sustaining as possible. Around the back of the bathroom container, I do show it in the tour, but it's got like a water tank and some pipes and stuff like that on it to try and make it seem as like self-sustaining as possible. And there's like a little veggie patch outside and different stuff like that, but that's like later on in the video. So starting off, I just go in and I do the kitchen. I start a lot of my builds in the kitchen. I don't know what it is. I think kitchens and offices and living rooms are probably like my favorite rooms to build in homes. I don't know why, they're just like, I have a lot of fun building those rooms. As you guys might know, bathrooms are probably like my least favorite thing to build, and then bedrooms can also be kind of fun, but I don't know, I just really love offices, kitchens and living rooms the most. But yeah, we're starting off with the kitchen in this build. I had already picked out a few different colors because I wanted this to be very specifically sort of like a spring container home. So I wanted it to be very colorful. I wanted it to be pretty pastel. I don't think it turns out like too in your face like colorful pastel, but it's definitely on the colorful side, and I wanted to sort of resemble spring and stuff like that, as we're currently in spring. So yeah, I wanted a lot of lighter colors and not very many dark colors. So I had a few different swatches in mind for this build, and then I also had a few different swatches for the like kitchen counters that I wanted to use. So yeah, those were off to the side if you see them in the corner of like the map or anything like that. That's just what they are. But yeah, so the kitchen's pretty small. I don't know, I mean, I probably could have made the kitchen a little bit smaller. It does end up having a breakfast bar, and I saw like the breakfast bar could be used for eating but also getting like some work done and stuff like that. But there is a fridge. I know normally sometimes I have a habit of forgetting a fridge. There is a fridge. It's just a countertop one, because I thought that that would work a lot better in a build like this rather than having something that's like really big. And then I do storage around the kitchen area. There's some shelves that I put up above the door that leads into the bedroom, and then there's some shelves going all the way around to sort of like where the breakfast bar is to where the sofa ends up being. And those cupboards that I use, I tried to do my like little trick of where I merge two cupboards together to make the one it seem like just like one big cupboard, and that's just like a little storage like place. I don't know, you could store whatever you want in there, but the cupboard and that would still open next to the breakfast bar, which is something that I really wanted to try and make it seem as, you know, as functional as possible, like like I like to do. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this build turns out, and I absolutely love a container home. So as the whole containers so like theme is around spring, I use a lot of light colors. So the kitchen cupboards end up being a nice sort of like a light wood color with white cupboards on the top, and then the countertop ends up being a white marble, and the countertop cupboards end up being like a pale blue. And I really like it. I really like how it turned out with having the cupboards at the top be a different color to the cupboards at the bottom, especially obviously it's such a small space as well. I didn't want anything to be too dark, and spring is like very sort of pastel and light colors like pinks, like blues, stuff like that. So I wanted a lot of that in this house, and so I decided to go for light blue cupboards for the kitchen, and then the cupboards at the top to be just like white and like a light wood. And I end up using a sort of, I think it was like a pale beige. I don't think it was quite pink, but the walls end up being a sort of like, it might actually be a little bit pinkish, but so like pinkish beige for the walls. And then the tiles I end up using in the kitchen, I don't use a lot of patterned tiles very much in my builds either. Like the same with the wallpapers, I don't really use a lot of patterned wallpapers, and I'm trying a lot to try and use some more of the patterned stuff, because I feel like it's a shame that they're there and I just like don't really gravitate towards them, or I don't really use them. So for this build I wanted to use one of the patterned tiles for the kitchen, and I quite like how it turns out. I don't know what the pattern is called, but it's like squares and circles. It's probably like the worst explanation ever, but and then so for those I end up having white, so like a pinky orange color and blue, and I feel like it suits you know, the vibe of the house, and I feel like it goes with the cupboards and everything like that. And as it's like spring, and as I say, like pink and stuff like that, like cherry blossoms, we've got the Sakura DLC coming next month, which I'm so excited for. I cannot wait to check out the new items for that. So a lot of the appliances in this kitchen end up being pink, like a pink microwave and a pink coffee machine, stuff like that. I wanted a lot of like plants and decorations and stuff like that around as well that would also scream sort of like springtime. So there's lots of plants as well. There's one that's so like it ends up hanging over the door, not over the door to the bedroom, but like to the side of it in like the little space, because there's 3 different shelves that I end up putting above the sink. One goes like from wall to cupboard, and the other ones go from like the door to the cupboard. Hopefully that makes sense. You guys will see it as the video's like going on. So I wanted some open shelving there for some easy things to grab, like some plates and cups and just different things like that. Maybe you know, like the containers of like food that can have they can have like coffee beans in them and stuff like that. I use those and I try and change the color of them sometimes to resemble like other things. Like maybe like it's a container of flour or sugar. I know we do have like containers of flour and sugar and stuff like that in the game, like in the packets. If you know, you know. But sometimes I like to use those containers and change the color of them to make it seem as if like it could be something else. I do that as well for like sometimes I'll put those specific containers in like laundry rooms or next to like washing machines and act as if like somebody's decanted like some washing powder or something in them and stuff like that. So they have like a lot of different uses. And so yeah, I wanted the shelves in here to just be like little display shelves, but also to be functional. So there's plants on there, there's cups, there's like, you know, food items, stuff like that. So as it's a pretty small kitchen in itself, like I said, there's a countertop fridge, sorry, and then there's like a bin that goes under the sink. The sink is the smallest version of the sinks that we can get, which I think is more than enough for a build like this. The oven is like a normal size oven, and then the hob, I just ended up going for the one that has like 2 rings on it because I thought, you know, that's more than enough. It's more than enough for such a small place. Ideally, probably this would be a house for 1 person, but you could definitely fit 2 people in here. I was like comfortably, yeah. I mean, there's like 2 chairs and stuff like that. Like it's not super small, so I think 2 people could live here, but maybe it's just like for 1 person. So the kitchen has just a small sink, small hob, and I wanted to use the smaller hob so that I could use some space behind it and use that for some extra storage, like, you know, chopping boards and spices and just stuff like that, you know, you don't need like a huge hob in such a small house, especially if it is only like 2 or 1 person. You're only really going to use like 1 at a time, if that makes sense. So I didn't feel like there was any need to really have like a 4 burner like hob or anything like that. So the 2 one is fine, and then there's also some space behind that where, you know, like I said, you can store some things like the chopping boards and stuff like that. And then in the corner of the kitchen, so like next to the cupboard that I make, I do put a little tray with some more plants in it, a fruit bowl, and just some other little bits and bobs like that. You know, it's very, or I think it would be very functional. And then you have like the counter space where the breakfast bar is, which pretty much it stays empty. I do later down the line end up putting a laptop there as if like they're working or anything like that. But for the most part, that's would be like your prep space and stuff. So I think that as it's, the kitchen could probably have been a little bit smaller, but I think it ends up being more than functional. So I would definitely not mind living here at all. So then after the kitchen is like pretty much done, I move on to the living room, and it's a really small living room, but I ended up having like, I love a corner sofa, so I sort of made a corner sofa with 2 pieces. I don't know the names of them, again, I apologize, but it's the one in the store that looks purple, and I just used 2 of those and put them together, and I really liked how they turned out. Again, the sofa ends up being a sort of like teal blue color. I mean, the whole container actually is blue and then it's got like a blue kitchen and it's sort of like a blue teal sofa. So the build overall is pretty light blue, but definitely more like on the spring side. But yeah, so I put in a little sofa, and I wanted a lot of cushions on the sofa as well, and I wanted a place for you to put your shoes, and I tried. I don't know, again, sorry, I'm really bad with remembering the names of the items that I choose. As always, if you want to know any of the names for anything or anything like that, let me know in the comments and I'll let you know. But it was one of the shelves that come out with the Scooby-Doo DLC. I really love those shelves, and I thought that they would be good because the walk space, so like between the end of the kitchen counter where the breakfast bar is to like go into the living room section, it's quite narrow. I mean, it's more than functional. Like, I wasn't stepping up onto anything, and you know, real life it would be more than functional. But I wanted a space for you to keep your shoes. I thought about maybe keeping the shoes and everything in the bathroom section, which would definitely work. I do end up putting like umbrellas and stuff over there, so like, I guess like a wet room, the wet stuff can stay over there. But I wanted a place in the actual like main house for shoes, and I tried to use that shelf. I thought it would be a good idea because I don't know, it had, you know, different shelves, and I thought you could store the shoe, but it really did not work out. It was a lot thinner than what I remember, and just like having the shoes on it just would not make sense. And I thought, oh, it could be a good thing to like, you know, put your purse down or your car keys and stuff like that, but that also wasn't working out. So I ended up messing around with, I think it was another set of furniture items that come out with the Scooby-Doo DLC, and I end up putting some of those together. I rotate one of them so it's sideways, and then that leaves a little gap underneath, and I decide that that's so like where the shoe storage will go. And I think that works out like really well, rather than actually having like a physical like shoe storage place, because they're not in the way, they're like hidden and they're like out of the way pretty much. So that worked out pretty well. I do also while I'm doing the living room, I decide to change the windows, because originally I was just using the glass walls. I love the glass walls, but I mean, I do like the glass walls, but I do end up changing them to like openable windows, and honestly I kind of like the openable windows more. I do keep a glass wall section at the top of each of the windows though, just to, you know, give in as much light as possible. I mean, it's only a small container home, it maybe doesn't need like so many windows, but I really like how it ends up, and I'm glad that I decided to change the windows. I do also double up the windows, because like the windows at the top, I double them up because I do that a lot anyway, so I thought that it would make more sense, because then it matches the thickness of the new windows I put in. Hopefully that makes sense. You guys will see it as the video goes on, but the glass walls are doubled up, and then the new windows I put in aren't doubled up. I do use the what is it called, the windowsill, to makeshift a windowsill for the windows that I put in. I mentioned in the single mum and three sons house that the windowsills that come like stock on the windows, I'm so glad, like I'm so happy that we can have them with or without the windowsill, because I personally think that sometimes they're a bit too big. So for this build I ended up just making my own windowsills where they only poke out like the tiniest amount, because I think if I would have used the stock windowsills that are like on the windows, they would just poke out too much, and then they would interfere with a lot of stuff that I had already placed. The curtains do start to interfere with one of the things that I put in for like the TV, what's it called, like the entertainment section of the house. So I end up using one of the it's in the shelf category. It reminds me of a Kallax unit from IKEA. You can have it with like 2 drawers, you can have it empty, you can have it with a cupboard, or you can have it with like a pull-out basket. So I end up using I think I end up using 2 of those for that section, just so the curtains didn't clip into it as much as they were. I still like to move the curtains slightly like closer to the wall sometimes, because again I feel like they poke out a little bit. I feel like they poke out a little bit too much. So I'll always normally like push the curtains closer to the walls as well, and that can sometimes help with them like clipping into different items and stuff like that. And then obviously it's a living room, so I put in a TV. I also put in like a games console, some games, some magazines, and just different things like that. And I messed around with making some shelves and putting some bits and bobs on the shelves, so there ends up being a shelf above the sofa as well, which I'm pretty sure I put a lava lamp on it. I love lava lamps. I wish that in House of Batu that they actually like worked, or like you could change the color of them. I feel that that would be like so cool if they actually worked, but again, it's really not like the biggest deal. But I love those. They're a great addition. Again, I think they come out with the Scooby-Doo DLC. But yeah, just like a little entertainment section with a DVD player, games console, you know, remote games, that sort of stuff, magazines, a little cup and a book and stuff like that. Just a nice place to chill out. I really, really like how the living room turned out in this build. And there's a lot of like spring colours, like the blues, pink, purple, white, just like nice light pinks and stuff like that. I really like the rug that I end up using for the living room. It's one of my like most used ones, I think, but I really like that one. And when I put that down, it ends up becoming sort of like purple and white diamond sort of pattern, which I really, really like. And as I said, the sofa ends up being a sort of like turquoise color, and then I put a bunch of cushions on it just to make it seem really cozy. The curtains end up being pink, and then I do a lot of photos and stuff around, which also sort of like match the spring vibe, I think, with some plants and some just like nice spring colors. The cupboard that I spoke about that I made in the kitchen that looks like it's not like floor to ceiling, but it looks like a larger cupboard than what it actually is. That I do end up turning the whole of that cupboard into sort of like the light wood color, just to make it a little bit different. And I really like how that turns out as well. So then from the living room, I go into the bedroom and start doing that. And the bedroom is very, very small. Like, I feel like in the game, I felt like I was like not clipping, but you know how like if you go too close to something, your character starts to like climb over it. I felt like I was doing that a lot in the bedroom sometimes, which is again why I love Sandbox Mode so much, because I can go into like fly mode and I don't have to keep clipping into like the bed or any other item that's around. But yeah, the bedroom ends up being pretty small, but I think it definitely works. I do use a double bed, and then I have one bedside table, and there's, you know, if this was real life, there would be enough space for you to like walk down the side of the bed and then walk also at the bottom of the bed. You can open, I do use 3 chest of drawers at the bottom of the bed to act as like, you know, clothes storage, stuff like that, and they are openable. So I feel like if this was real life, you know, it would definitely be functional. I think maybe I could have made the bedroom a tiny bit bigger, but you know, if it's only a place that you sleep, I don't think it's gonna be the place in this house where you would spend the majority of your time. So I don't think it's necessarily a big deal, and I'm happy with how it turned out. So I end up using 3 different sets of chest of drawers in there. I do put a TV in there, just some decorative bits, some shelves. I do also use the lemon wallpaper. I wanted to use that wallpaper in the living room originally, but I didn't think it fit. I thought it was a bit too much. So I end up using the lemon wallpaper in the bedroom, and it's just like a nice sort of like focal piece, I guess. The bedroom doesn't have like tons and tons in it. It does have some shelves and some like little knick-knack bits, like books and plants and stuff like that, but it doesn't have like tons and tons in it. I was going to put some paintings and stuff like that on the wall to the bedroom next to the shelves that I end up putting up, but I decided not to. I thought that, you know, the lemon wallpaper is enough of like, I guess, decorative bits. But as I said, there are some shelves that I do end up putting up in the bedroom with some books and plants and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like, you know, if this was real life, it would definitely be more than functional. I think there's also enough storage in the bedroom. I think the bed that I use has storage underneath it, so there's also that. It just might be a little bit of a squeeze, but I think, you know, if this was real life, it would definitely be functional, and I think that's something that I really like to go off of as much as possible. Like, you know, would this be functional in real life? If I think yes, then I'll keep rolling with it. Also, for the bedroom, I ended up using the the folding door. I don't normally use that a lot. I feel like I use that for like a laundry room or like a storage cupboard or stuff like that. But I ended up using that for this build, as again, I thought it suited it a lot more than having to have a huge door that has to like open all of the way for you to be able to get into the bedroom. So I do end up using a folding door, and I think it was definitely the right choice, because, you know, such a small build, you want as much space saving as possible. So yeah, then from the bedroom I go on and I start doing the bathroom, which, as I said, is a separate sort of like container of its own, which literally just has bathroom stuff in it, along with the washing machine and tumble dryer. So in there, pretty much, as I said, washing machine, tumble dryer, a sink, a toilet, and a shower. It took me a while to sort of like figure out the layout for the bathroom. It's not that it was like the bathroom was too small. The bathroom was actually quite like a really big size, but it was just like trying to figure out how to lay it out, because I knew I wanted a bath in this build, but I specifically wanted the bath on the outside. So I know I didn't like need the bath on the inside, but I wanted a shower on the inside, and obviously a toilet. We can pretend like, if this is like as much of a self-sustaining house as possible, that it's like a composting toilet, or, you know, we do have we do have like connection to some like water source and electrical grid, stuff like that. But that I do end up putting solar panels on the roof of both the main house and the bathroom. And obviously we don't actually have solar panels in House Flipper 2, so we have them in House Flipper, but we don't have solar panels in House Flipper 2, so I just end up making them with the resizable block. And actually, no, sorry, I use the, what is it called? The corkboard piece, which I really like to use a lot. I use that to create the look of solar panels on the roof and stuff. I think it works. Again, it's one of those things, if you don't look at it too closely, I definitely think that it gives off, you know, the idea of what it is. But yeah, the bathroom, I spent a while in the bathroom, I think, or it feels like I spend a long time in the bathroom doing it, but it ends up being like pretty simple. You know, it's just a shower, it's a sink, there's some storage cupboards in there as well. And as I mentioned about like the shoes, I was thinking of having a section in the bathroom which would house the shoes specifically, so like all the shoes and stuff like that, things that would get like dirty or wet, would be in the bathroom. But I end up putting like an umbrella stand in the bathroom. But as I mentioned, the shoes, I end up actually finding a place for them in the main house, so they don't end up being in the bathroom. And honestly, I think it was the better choice to have them like that. But you guys let me know if I should have kept with my original plan of having sort of like the shoes and stuff be kept in the bathroom instead of having them in the main house. But yeah, bathroom is just very simple. As I said, I think it just took me a long time to figure out the bathroom, and I don't really know why. I really don't know why. I don't know if I was thinking it was too big, because it is quite a big space, but I just, yeah, a separate shower to toilet, and I end up using some of the resizable blocks, like the curved ones, to make the shower seem separate but not make it seem like it's like completely blocked off. There is a pretty large window that is shower side, and I do end up using one of the one of the fences. I end up using it and turning it on its side and putting it sort of like between the two panels of glass walls. You guys will see it when we come to the bathroom, so hopefully it will make sense then. But I end up using a fence piece because unfortunately the glass walls at the moment, I would love for you to be able to change the colour of the glass. Like, you know, on some items we can change the glass colour, the tint, everything like that. I would really like that for the glass wall pieces, but unfortunately that's not like available at the moment. I don't know if it's something that potentially they will add in the future. If they do, that would be like really, really cool, but I didn't really want this big glass window without like a tint on it, so I ended up using a fence piece and I put that between the two glass panels, and it acts as like, you know, a bit of privacy, so if there does happen to be anybody like walking out in the forest a ways away, they can't just like spy on you. But yeah, like this whole plot I was thinking, so like a little bit self-sustaining but also connected to the grid as well. And then in the bathroom, the tiles I end up using a few different coloured ones. I use yellow, blue, pink, and yeah, yellow, blue, and pink tiles in the bathroom as like the shower backsplash, and I really, really like those. I was going to use wallpaper in the bathroom, and I tried with the flower wallpaper. One of them is actually one of my favorite ones, and I tried with that and I did not like it. I didn't like it at all, but I do end up using some wallpaper in the bathroom. It's just like a yellow and white striped one, and I really, really like how that turns out. I feel like it's, you know, a spring colours again, like yellow, pink, stuff like that, and I'm just really happy with how the build, as always, like turns out as a whole. But the bathroom for some reason was just taking me a while, but it's very simple. The end result for the bathroom is actually really simple, and then from like once I've pretty much almost done with the bathroom, I go out and add the bath to the little deck area. And the deck that I used, it's actually the resizable square. I could have probably used the windowsill piece, but you can't actually, like, you can place some things on the windowsill, but you can't place like a lot of things. Obviously it's like a windowsill, so I wouldn't really expect you to be able to place like a bath on it or anything. So I honestly just ended up using the resizable square to create the deck for both of the container buildings, and it works out fine. The only annoying thing is you can't actually like physically place things on the resizable square, which can get a little bit annoying, so I had to end up placing a lot of the stuff on the inside or just like on the ground, and then move it so that it fits on the deck areas. But it ends up working out like fine, so I'm not too mad at it. But it would be really cool if we could actually place items on the resizable block. But yeah, so after the bathroom's done, I go and do the deck to the bathroom, which has the bath on it and some shelves with some towels and stuff like that. And I do try and put some vines around the bath as well, because I thought that would be a cool touch. You know, it's a little bit off grid, so I mean the vines could either be real or they could be fake. I'll let you guys decide what you think would be better. But yeah, I thought the vines made a nice little touch to the outside part of the bathroom, and some lighting outside with the LED light strip around the bath. I really do like using the LED light strip for a lot of things. And then after we're done with the bath, I go on to sort of like the garden stuff, and around the back, like right behind the main container, I wanted a sort of like vegetable patch. I do think we could do with some more like vegetables in the game. I put down some pumpkins, we've got some blueberry bushes and different things like that, like lettuce, or I think it's lettuce, like heads of lettuce, stuff like that. So yeah, I put in some of those, and I raise up the dirt around there to make it seem, I think it was a good idea to raise it up, so like it's, and then I put a fence around it and just some like compost bins and stuff like that. So it's just like a little growing section where, you know, whoever lives here grows some of their own vegetables and stuff like that. There's some barrels which could hold like water specifically for watering the plants and stuff like that. As well, I do go around and I try and make the container. I've been messing with the sort of like dirt tool a little bit lately. Not like too much, not like, oh, it really needs a clean kind of thing, but just for like a little bit of added realism or detail, you know, it's not like a beat up container, but it's like used, so there's some little like marks, some water marks here and there, especially around the side of the like bathroom container where I have the pipes and stuff like that that go into like a water barrel, and just like different bits like that. Hopefully that makes sense. You guys will like see it as the video goes on and stuff. But yeah, I've started to use the dirt management tool in my builds a bit, especially if I want them, you know, to be a little bit more realistic or look as if they're a little bit more lived in. You know, things aren't always as pristine as possible. So I've really started to use that, and even like sometimes putting in some rubbish. I don't think I put any rubbish in this build, but I have another build coming up which I do use like the trash tool to put down some like cans and bits and bobs like that. So but yeah, that's another build. But for this one I just wanted to use the the like dirt management tool. So yeah, that is the outside. So yeah, there's a little like vegetable section, and then if you like, you look at the containers to the right hand side, I end up making a sort of like picnic barbecue area with a fire pit. Originally when I like do that section, I don't know if it will be kept in. I might chop it out, I'm not too sure yet, but I try to add in like a fire pit using the fire logs that you can just like turn on and off. I do that first, and then I end up actually not liking that, so I go in and I do change it to be like a fire pit itself, you know, one of the pre-made ones. I do that because I felt like it made more sense and it just looked better. But that section has like a little picnic bench and a barbecue and stuff like that, just a place where you could go and sit outside and stay warm by the fire if it's like a cold night. There's also a van, and I was thinking, you know, it's a little off-grid place, but if they ever wanted to travel, then the van could be like a van house, because that's another thing that I used to watch an awful lot, like van builds. So yeah, that was my reasoning behind putting the van specifically in this one rather than just putting like a car. I was thinking that the van could also be like a little camper van, and they could go on little travels and stuff. And then the deck that's attached to like the main living house section, that's also, as I said, used a resizable block to create that, because I thought that having it as like an actual block was just too thick, and I didn't want it to be too thick. I wanted it to be sort of like half the size, which is the biggest reason why I chose to use the resizable block. But that was just a little bit annoying, having to use the move tool and stuff like that to place the sofa and little chair and table and stuff that I wanted on the outside of the deck, you know, just like a nice little chill area where you can read a book. And I do also end up adding a lot of plants to the front of it, either in like planters or just around, and some rocks. I do also go in towards the end of the build and add in a little pond to the side of the bathroom. I just thought I didn't really know what to put in that area, and I thought a little pond would be nice, just not necessarily like a place where you could like swim or anything, just like a little pond, some fish maybe and stuff like that. And then I end up adding some plants and everything, some rocks, some fallen down like tree logs and just different things like that. And with the little like barbecue area, I put down some fire logs and stuff like that, maybe like a little station where you can chop the wood for the fire, so that's there. And then I put paving slabs pretty much leading around the whole house. It goes from the sort of picnic area to the main house to the bathroom and then to the back of the house where the little like garden section is, where you can grow your own vegetables and stuff. So yeah, so that is pretty much this build. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I really love how this turned out. I think it's like super cute and very spring. Like, as I said, I wanted it to be a very spring heavy container build, so there's lots of plants. It's very bright. I don't think it's too like in your face rainbow threw up pastel, but it's definitely pastel, and I think very like spring, which is what I was going for. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this build turned out. I'm super happy with how the container turned out as a whole, with it like looking like a container that's on not on stilts, but it's like on supports and stuff like that. I'm really happy with how this build turned out, and it's a small container home, as I said at the beginning. The inside is 38 by 14, so that's like usable space, and then the exterior of the main container is 40 by 16, and the inside of the bathroom area is 16 by 12, and the exterior of the bathroom area is 18 by 14. That's only the container itself. That's not counting the deck space at all. That's literally just like the container build. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this build turned out, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video. Do let me know what you think of it in the comments. As always, I really do appreciate you guys being here and supporting these videos, checking them out, even if after the chat or anything like that you want to just skip to the tour or anything like that. I really just appreciate you guys being here, so thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment, let me know if you have a favorite area, let me know how you would have decorated this little container. I'd like to know if you would have laid it out any differently. Let me know if you like the layout that I went with, the bathroom being separate, everything like that. And let me know if you like container builds and homes and stuff like that, because I really do like them. But yeah, but as always, thank you so much for watching this build, taking the time to check it out. I really do appreciate it. Hit the like button, leave comments, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out some of the other builds that I do if you would like to. As always, there's timestamps, so feel free to skip around the video however you please, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care, bye.